Welcome back to Andersen Acres. We're in the kitchen again today, and if you hear dishwasher sounds in the background, I apologize. I've been baking all day, and that made a lot of dishes. I think I'm on my third load of dishes. It's fun. So today what we're going to make is a garlic butter pull-apart bread. This is really easy to make and quite delicious. So you're going to need two basic things before you make this particular bread. You're going to need a garlic butter. Now this garlic butter I made on video a few weeks ago. I'm going to link to that recipe where I made this butter. You can make this garlic butter in the comfort of your home. You don't have to go out and buy one. And you can make it with things you probably already have in your kitchen. It's not difficult at all. So you're going to need some garlic butter. You're going to take about a quarter cup of that garlic butter. Now this is a full cup of garlic butter. It started out that way before I started nicking stuff out of there. But a full cup, you don't need that. You only need a quarter cup, and you're going to want to melt it. So I have melted a portion of garlic butter in its own bowl. So we'll set this one aside, and we have our melted garlic butter. You're also going to need a bread dough. You can use any yeast dough you want. I'm just using my basic white. I will link to the video where I made a basic white dough so you can see the recipe and how to make it. But you can use any dough you like. If you like pizza dough, or maybe you like a whole wheat dough, any yeast dough you like, you can use. So you're going to need that. We're also going to need a pie plate. This is one of the easiest ways to make this particular recipe because all you do is throw the pieces in a pie plate and butter them. It's really easy. So get yourself a pie plate and get yourself some way to grease that pie plate. You can use butter and flour. You can use a little bit of oil. I'm just using a canola oil cooking spray. All right, so you just want to really grease that pan well. Probably won't stick because there's going to be a lot of butter, but better safe than sorry. Just place that to the side just a little bit. Take your dough, and you don't have to be real specific with your dough. Just grab a little chunk. Remember, it's going to rise, so you really don't need more than about a little ball. And just start ripping chunks off. Roll them into a little ball. They don't even all have to be the same size. Just rip your chunks off and throw them in the bowl. So it's really quite an easy thing to do. It doesn't matter how many chunks you get. And space them out very little bit, just a little bit. So a little bit of space because they will rise. So they don't have to be touching each other necessarily. It's okay if they are. This is not a difficult recipe. You can kind of do it however you want to do it. So just fill your pan. Just fill your pan. And while you're doing that, you can melt your butter if you haven't already. So stick it in the microwave for 15, 20 seconds, whatever works for you, depending on how cold your butter is, because it does need to be melted. So just roll your balls. That sounds funny. And it doesn't take long to fill them up. And if you like smaller bites, it's okay to do more smaller bites instead of bigger ones. This is a pull-apart bread, so people are going to be reaching in and pulling chunks out. So decide how big a chunk each person's really going to want or need before you start working. And again, you can vary your sizes. It's not a big deal. That's too big a chunk. And one more. Okay. Once you have your balls mostly done, you have your single layer. Get some of your butter and just brush it on top. This is a very garlicky butter because I add quite a bit of garlic, so it'll taste excellent. Now we're going to do, and I will speed up the video for this so you don't have to watch, is we're going to add a second layer. And when we add that second layer, same idea. But when we add that second layer, we're kind of just going to pop them in the spaces so they stick up a little bit but aren't a true second layer. So just kind of drop them on top. But we'll speed it up while we finish putting together our pull-apart bread. All right, there we go. It is now pretty much assembled, and we're just going to take more butter, make sure everything's well covered. You don't want any spots without butter. Okay? No spots without butter. You do want to reserve just a little bit of butter. You don't need much. Just reserve a little bit of butter. It's okay to set this aside and let that butter harden while we're working on our pull-apart bread. So set that aside. Now you have basically your assembled pull-apart bread, but this needs to rise. So you're going to stick it in a warm place. I stick it in my microwave because that allows it to rise nicely, traps the humidity, and traps the heat. But you can cover it with a damp tea towel, place it on top of your stove or whatever. As long as it's not cooking, you just want it to rise. So I'm going to pop this in the microwave for 45 to 60 minutes until it's nicely puffed up and maybe about doubled in size, at least sort of. So we'll come back once this has had a chance to rise, and then I'll show you what to do next. There we go. It's nicely puffed up, looking excellent, and it is time to put it in the oven. But before we put it in the oven, we are going to add about 1/8 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. I'm using the shredded stuff, but if all you have is the powdered, that's fine too. Doesn't matter that much. So I'm going to put a little Parmesan cheese on there. I'm going to take the pepper and just do a little bit of pepper. You're looking at probably 1/8 of a teaspoon or less. Same deal with the salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon or less. You don't want too much. You don't want it to be overwhelming. Now we need to bake this, and we're going to bake it at 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about 25 minutes until it's nice and golden brown. We'll come back as soon as it is out of the oven. And there it is, fresh out of the oven, garlic butter pull-apart bread. One last thing to do. The reserved butter that's probably solidified in your bowl by now, take a basting brush and scoop that up, pop that on there, and just move that around your pull-apart bread and let it melt. It will coat your bread and make everything delicious. A little extra butter is what makes this bread excellent. So you can serve this at your next family gathering, at your next party, whatever you have, you just serve this up. It's delicious and easy to make. Doesn't take long, just takes a little bit of preparation. I hope you enjoyed making garlic butter pull-apart bread with us tonight. I'm sorry if you can hear the dog drinking water. He's a little loud. We'll see you tomorrow.